Hello and welcome to the Joy CEO podcast. I am so glad to have you here today. And joining me is my dear friend, Matt Wemple with the Coca-Cola Company. Welcome, Matt.
Hello, Lori. A pleasure to be with you and your fan base.
Oh my gosh.
The Joy CEO.
So Matt, you and I go pretty far back, like maybe 15 years-ish. Yeah, pretty far back. And so I do have some skinny on Matt because I go back with him so far in his career. He was just kind of like a regular kind of guy. And now he's kind of pretty fancy. So what a privilege to have you with us today. And we get to hear your story. It's quite a story. And I can't wait to dig in. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes. So you've had some pivots along the way. And I love a good pivot story. Like when we're in college and we think we're going to have this one career and we're studying that career and then boom, a change. Let's get started. Tell us what happened.
Geez, I don't know. It's funny because it's like, I don't see any of it as pivots.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't sit there one day and go, geez, like I really need to change things. There have been goals I want to achieve, and what I want to achieve has evolved. And when that changes, then of course, like the approach needs to change. So I guess you see like a pivot in those times, but it's not like a very, very deliberate path. It's much more deliberate closer to now than it was in the past.
Yeah.
I'd say it was like entirely indeliberate. I say this all the time. Like I had no rudder in the water when I kind of was going out in the world. I knew early on, I wanted to be a rock star. Had the band, had the long hair, had the medal,
I can see
everything.
I can see it. Matt on stage, thousands of fans, rocking out.
Hundreds of teenagers in the Albany area, if maybe dozens, actually. And then,
dozens, let's clarify.
Yeah. Life comes along, right? And I moved out to Arizona just to kind of figure out what's next for me. To get myself back into my undergrad. I kind of strayed away from it for a little bit. And I refocused on with my career ambitions being in law enforcement. We have a long history of law enforcement and military in the Wemple family, and coupled with the fact that I would have been the first member of our family in 11 North American generations with a bachelor's degree, right? So I was like really excited to go get a bachelor's degree with the goal of getting the bachelor's degree, not necessarily because it enabled XYZ. I think I mentioned when we chatted before, like we knew that was important, my dad and I and our family, but maybe we didn't fully know how to maximize it or what it,
right,
or where to go from there. So it was in service of following through and pursuing a law enforcement career. I was training. I was in my criminal justice undergrad, like I said, and I was working at first Target to pay my bills. I was kind of always full-time working and going to school. And then a gentleman comes in from Coca-Cola. He serviced the store I worked at, and he said, like, there's an incentive. If you come interview, like I get a bonus. Would you like to interview for this job that's open? And I was like, sure. Like, why wouldn't I? And it was actually really compelling and interesting. And I got the job. And I was an account manager at what's now like Swire Coca-Cola bottling territory, and was in convenience stores. So now I'm like selling, soda and water and beverages to the convenience stores of the Phoenix, Arizona market, still while pursuing my law enforcement path. Along that time, I was put on a project. It went well. I did a short version. As a reward for that, was sent up to the Olympics in 2010 in Vancouver.
Wow.
And I got to work in what they call venue operations. And I was a supervisor there too. I had the privilege of like leading some folks, but like really went into even that with like no expectation, not even like a full understanding of what it meant. Again, my focus in my life was in law enforcement and this other career, the CPG and beverage world, like career. I wasn't really diving in. I wasn't making myself an expert. It wasn't where I put my chips. So I get up there and I have like this life and career altering experience. I'm working with hundreds of some of the most interesting and talented people you'd ever meet from all over the world in a really cool place, Vancouver, at a time where the nation and the city are at a super high point of pride, right? The Olympics are in their town. And so I'm like, and then I'm also seeing what Coca-Cola can do and does, and a lot of major brands do very well when they put their mind to it, when it's a key initiative. And like, it blew me away. All of those things combined, I'd never been exposed to. And now that I was having doubts about my law enforcement career, right?
Right.
I started like my head turned career wise, I should say. So I remember very distinctly, I think we chatted about this, calling my father from a hotel room in Richmond, BC, and saying, hey, I think I might skip a generation of this law enforcement thing. Like I'm really interested in a career in this world. And I was so worried he's going to be disappointed or let down. And I like distinctly remember him also saying, I think that means I've done my job.
Wow. I think that means I've done my job. What affirmation.
Yeah, affirmation. And I get the chills thinking about that moment too, because like I had all the pressure. I was like a 28-year-old and could ever put on themselves, like have to have this hard conversation with dad. And then it was just all gone immediately. All the pressure was gone and it was very emotional. And by the way, caveat, like I want to say there's like law enforcement career is still incredible.
Of course.
And it's an incredible privilege and there are incredible women and men who serve and do that work. Dad's point was we've done that for many generations. Maybe it's time for the Wemples to kind of do other things. Right?
Giving you permission to pursue something that clearly was lighting you up. He could hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, wow, awesome. And then like, well, shit, now I got to do something with that decision. Right. If I'd chosen to take this, the CPG and professional world career seriously, what does that mean? I got to go figure that out now. And, you have all the mental stress that one puts on oneself. It's like, I'm now 8 or 9 years behind all my peers because I've been exploring. It took me a while to get through school. Now I'm 4 or 5 years into a career, deciding on the career, right? So I'm a little behind and don't know what to do. So from there on, I had to make a lot of decisions.
Right. So let's go back just a little bit because I want to just explain a little bit to anybody who might be listening and who's never been to an event like the Olympics, just the magnitude of what you're dealing with and the sheer intensity and excitement to walk into an experience like that. I've been to 2 Olympics, entertained customers. One I was entertaining customers. The other I too was doing some venue operations working when I was with Anheuser-Busch. And it is so impressive to see a brand come to life in that sort of just sheer magnitude of what they can do when they truly partner that strategically with an asset like the Olympics. And it really is life-changing. It changes you when you experience something like that, to feel that energy, to feel that vibration, to see your customers experience that and to see the brand through that lens. And I mean, I was young and impressionable, just like you were. So to be 28 years old and to be in the mix of that and the throes of that, I can imagine you would say, I want a career with this energy, this brand, a company that does these sorts of things. Hell yes. I'm in, right? Like that hell yes energy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, the brand, like because of the way these incredible partners, incredible business and events and nonprofits like FIFA, like the Olympics, IOC, et cetera, and the local operating committees, because of the way they structure, what a fan experience actually is, we get brands to take it seriously, get to be the experience when it's not competition time, prior to a match or prior to a speed skating event or, a track and field event. Like we are the experience. We can help augment and enhance the incredible time that all these fans are going to have cheering on their countries, their favorite athletes, their whatever. And that's an incredible privilege, but it's also like a huge responsibility. And so getting it right is like wildly important, right?
Yes. To bring that creative genius to the partnership, to the fan base, to the customers who are all going to be a part of it. So as you think about like a career in that, it's fun, exciting, and some pressure.
It's crazy.
So you didn't have this storied kind of playbook CPG start. some people that we work with in CPG, they went to Duke, they went to Kellogg, they got their undergrad, they got their MBA. They were just meant for brand work. Neither you or I did that, which kind of is what makes us kindred spirits. It's what made us love each other at first sight. You know, both of us came from humble beginnings, went to a state school, and had really great work ethic and just earned our way through the ranks. And this is what kept happening with you. And even though you had this idea that you were behind, you really weren't behind, and you made up for some lost time. So let's talk about that. What happened next? After Vancouver?
Okay. To be fair, I still feel quite behind, which I've come through therapy and coaching to find it's actually it's a really good motivator to be slightly dissatisfied all the time, right?
Yeah.
You got to calibrate that though when you're leading people and helping other people out. But yeah, so I okay, now what? There was another thing going on in my life where I needed to get back to the East Coast. Not to bore you with details, but so I started to look for jobs with the bottling system in the East Coast.
Yep.
While I was in Canada, some things changed about the companies that we all worked for.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I'm going to put this in the luck bucket, okay? Because like this, Coney always used to say timing, skill, and luck. And there's varying degrees of which of those three you can control. And luck is the one you really can't. But so the structure of the companies we worked for changed, which meant I moved out east. I was working for a bottler, but the bottler and the company were all one thing at the time after what we call like the CCR days. Coca-Cola Refreshments was formed. Why does that matter? That matters because what would have been taboo or maybe not even like supported in the past, jobs where you're working for the bottler, going to the company to the bottler, like wasn't super supported. There was nothing official or policy at the time, but I think it just wasn't like as widely accepted as it was when the company and the bottling system were one big thing. So I met the bottler in New York City, having an incredible job, incredible time, still figuring out life and all that stuff. You know, I'm like 30 or 29 now. And an opportunity to go into national sales arises. And I'm like all over it, right? And this is where you and I met, where I got to be on the national level sales team and manage customers and P&Ls and execution in a smaller channel, right? But being in a smaller channel, it afforded me the opportunity to have my hands on every part of it by default. We all had to, right? We didn't have like a huge marketing support team and a digital team and all that stuff. We figured a bunch of stuff out ourselves, which was awesome. Now I'm getting like P&L and national customer management experience, like almost like a business owner or GM type role for each of those customers and learning a bunch about how our bottling system and our company system work together, like things I just wasn't exposed to in the past. So like the actual way our business works, I'm getting to see firsthand. But I'll be honest, like I pursued some opportunities. And I think, you know, I wasn't supported in pursuing those opportunities very fairly, didn't have the experience, sort of the degree, pedigree, like that background that would make me the obvious choice for some of the things I really wanted to do. And this is where like life changes from where you're, you know, hard work and determination and telling people you're a hard worker, like that kind of runs out at some point. You've got to also have the credentials to be in some of the higher risk, higher importance roles. So I left the company and I found a couple roles in a row that helped me get the experience I needed and some bruises, I'm not going to lie, to be considered for the types of things I want to do back in our, you know, corporate CPG environment. It was global work and digital work. And I remember conversations I had, like folks who were traditionally tacticians are never really seen as strategists. This was this quote that hit me and I'm like, it pissed me off so bad, Lori. I was like, no. You know, but anyway, the fact or the perception of that fact remained. So now I've got to go get got to rebrand myself a little bit. And I do about 3 years of work at some consultancies. They had kind of changed or evolved through acquisitions. And right near the end of my time at the second one, this role was posted back at Coca-Cola. And I'd always wanted to get back to, like I left with the intention of getting back to corporate. Didn't know if it was going to be the company or a different one. But I knew I was going to boomerang. I just needed to get some more stuff in my backpack to like make me a better student, better soldier and all that good stuff. So this role got posted in digital business development or e-commerce business development at Coca-Cola Company. And I swear to God, I read the description and I was like, that's the job description I would have written if you'd asked me what I wanted to do before I left. but I like never would have gotten an interview had I not gone and gotten that other experience. And so by some diligence and some luck, got an interview and got the job. And I'm back at Coca-Cola and got to shape the early days of how we would do e-commerce sort of outside of Amazon. And how could we imagine working with everything but Amazon? Because that was really well defined and on its own path at the time. So we built the strategies, then we built a team. We'd later see all that work turn into individual verticals that substantial teams are leading even through today. Then I had the chance to interim lead the Amazon business. That was an incredible privilege. Learned a whole bunch there. And then from that point, pivoted on to leading a channel of business. I pulled back together component parts of the natural channel and rebuilt a team to serve it, and was lucky enough to hand that off to incredible folks here about a year ago. And to your point, I've now pivoted back into the world of sports marketing, sports venue execution, and commercial rights execution. So, I think I've always had my eye on this to get to here sort of where I wanted to be to, like at the level of seniority and responsibility that I had in mind. While it may look like weird pivots and circuitous, I've kind of been building not only the knowledge, expertise, but like the allyship and the support to be given opportunities like this. And then who knows what's from here. Like we get all the way through next August, we've got to figure out what's next as a team and as individuals. So,
okay, there are so many good nuggets. I'm like sitting on my hands waiting to like dig into so much of this.
Yeah, and you can tell me, please tell me to be quiet.
No, not at all. So we've got to have, what did Steve Piccone say? Tactics, skills, and luck.
Skill, timing, and luck. Number one,
timing, and luck.
Number one's all on you. Number two is half you, half the world. And the third, if you do the other two fairly well, you're probably going to get. That's what I took away from him.
And the universe, I believe, wants to give us everything we ask for it. We just got to ask. Like, we've just got to put it out there that this is what we want. And so what I love about what you're sharing with this audience is you knew what you wanted. You were a little bit backed into a corner, getting a little bit pigeonholed, if you will, saying, you only have these sort of skills. And it riled something up inside of you enough to say, that's BS. I'm not going to settle for that. And you had the courage to say, I'm going to walk away, get the skills, the experience, the expertise that I know that I need to prove my chops, to come back and show you just really what I'm made of. And you went and did that. This scrappy kid from Albany. I love it. Right? And so you did exactly that. And you come back and there's this made for you role that you just crush. And so you come back, you do the role, you're a director, then you're promoted and you're promoted. And before you know it, you're a vice president of the Coca-Cola company. I mean, Matt, that's incredible. Some people have an entire career, 35 years, and never get to that level.
Sure. Can I correct you on something?
Sure.
You had such a good run. We'll do that part again, but it's technically senior director. There aren't vice president.
Senior director, which really in any other world is a vice president. It's that equivalent. Yeah. But that's the level that you rose to. And those were the rooms that you were in. Those were the conversations that you were having. That was a high level strategy that you were doing, the thinking that you were doing, because you had the skills. You knew the right thought processes to move the business forward. You had some timing and maybe you had some luck. Yeah. And so all the while, life is happening. So before we get to the role you're in now, before we talk about that, life's happening. There's some pretty high highs and there's some pretty low lows. You had met your wife back in your early days, early 20s, when you're working at Target, right? Do I have this story right?
20.
Yes. 20.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So 20, you meet her and then you part ways. Only to come back around and like this fairy tale story. So what I love most about Matt, and for anybody who follows him on LinkedIn or Instagram, Matt is a true ally in every sense of the word, whether you work for him, whether you might happen to be the one and only who's married to him, or you're a friend of his like I am, or you're one of the many organizations he volunteers for, because he is an advocate of volunteering. But Matt is an ally. He shows up and supports, and his wife is an equestrian, and he is cheering her on all the time. So Jamie, we're giving you a shout out for all that you're doing with your horse and your equestrian work. But let's talk just a little bit about, kind of, you leave the city, you're now in the suburbs, you live not that far from me here in the Hudson Valley.
Correct.
Loving that. It brings out this side of you that you've always loved and started when you were 15 years old with your dirtiest job ever.
I love this. I love that. I did not think you were going to actually bring this up. That's awesome.
Yes. So dirtiest job ever for Matt Wemple was?
I landscaped for, I think, 4 or 5 summer seasons. And then we did some stuff like before and after cleanups and things like that. But, around the capital, Schenectady County, capital region area, it was like, I don't remember what the age for like to legitimately get a work permit is. Like you can get a work permit a year earlier than the legal working age. I like forged my dad's signature. I don't know. I hope statute of limitations has run out, but I don't think they're coming for me. But because I was just like getting plain and simple, absolute vanity, was getting like tired of getting clowned on for the shoes I had on. And like there wasn't budget in our family like to have lavish like things like clothing and things like that. And frankly, Dad supported my hockey addiction. So we had to make choices. Okay.
So all your money went to hockey gear, face masks, the whole
training, all that stuff.
Ice time, right? And not the bougie, $100 sneakers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be able to pay for my own things in general. I also like sought independence from a very, very young age. And I don't know what triggered that, but like financial, mental, social, like always craved being a bit autonomous, which kind of that'll come back and lead into where myself, the organization I represent as a board member, Stoked, and a number of people around me had when it comes to like future freedom, right? Being an autonomous person into your later years. So anyway, got this job at like 15 and like wild amount of responsibility, by the way, like driving one of the trucks and like doing bed installations and things like that. And we would work, after school, have an hour, change, get into your sloppy gear, and go out and dig holes and, install and rip out plants. And, it wasn't as much like lawn mowing as it was like building and curating lawn and landscape design. God, I learned so much. I mean, it was 4 a.m. It was sometimes, we did fall and a little bit of winter work. So it was like 4 a.m. and cold. Couldn't feel your hands under your gloves. And I'll never forget, like, I'll refer to myself as an idiot. I mean, like literally every era of my life, there's like these dummy moments, right? Which I think everybody has, but I'll never forget. I get a pair of leather gloves. I got my ponytail tucked up into my hat because like the owner didn't want me to upset the rich people with like being looking like a hippie or something. He gives me these gloves. I got my ponytail tucked in and he's like, we're going to move all those rocks into this thing. It's going to take 5 loads, bring it over to this other area. I was like, great. He's like, the only thing he told me was like, don't get your finger under one of those.
Oh no.
Like, don't even know what he means really. I pick up the first one. It's like 30 pounds. I put it on the bed of the truck and I just immediately go, oh my God. I like popped the end of my finger inside the glove because I dropped the rock. But I'm like, so now I know what he means and what he meant. And I'm like, I can't lose this job. Like I can't embarrass myself to this guy. I'm literally like broken the only rule he gave me.
Did
like
you
I'm an
lose
idiot.
a finger?
I just let it sit inside. And just like just roughed it out. The guy who got me the job, we're same age in high school or middle school. He kind of knew, so he was helping me with a couple of things. And like end of the day afterwards, like pulled it out, and it was just like a mess. I did what I had to do. So like that was like a character defining moment. Like first of all, listen to the people who give you advice. If you don't understand it, ask for clarity.
Clarifying questions.
And if you still fuck up, it's yours to own. Power through it.
But this job in general
Mhm.
gave you something that you still value to this day. And what is it?
Independence, work ethic.
And getting your hands dirty.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I super value like manual work.
Yeah.
Or manual anything, like being creative, play the guitar. I get to work on stuff like, as you alluded to, right? I've never lived in like a house with things to take care of, prior to this era. So always had apartments and condos and things like that in the city. And like, I long for the Sunday morning at 5:30 where there's like a little project to do, not only because it helps me with whatever I've been thinking about all week. Like I'm a huge proponent of if you're stuck on something strategy wise or on a relationship or whatever in your day job, like go take a shower or go for a walk or a run. Like you just literally distract your brain by doing things, physical things. And the really awesome part of your brain kicks in and it just spits out the answers you need. Like I've seen this over and over and over again. Like when we let our subconscious mind do what it's designed to do, instead of like trying to control everything all the time, it does wonders. So it has that value. And then it's just like so cool to see, have like an idea. And then like a few weeks later, there's like a thing in the world, it's a physical thing.
Like you created the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You took it from
cool.
blah to ta-da.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so fulfilling. And I don't ever want to lose like that type of thing in my life. Because the work we do, like we might not always see, like,
right.
I'm definitely going to see people in a concessions line in 16 stadiums next summer, buying all types of refreshments, and especially our brands. But like, I'm not building the stadium.
Right.
So we'll see the outputs of our strategies and our types of work, but we don't necessarily get to see a flower bed. And that's like so fulfilling.
Okay. So great segue into your current role. So just about a year ago, you're humming along, you're taking care of the natural channel, you've built out this, kind of digital e-com world, and an opportunity arises and it brings you full circle. Let's talk about that.
For sure. It was around like, what's your next steps time in that role? I think in the total, it's pretty interesting from the e-commerce early days where I first came back to the company to when, I'd moved on from the retail organization. It was kind of all one big thing with like 5 or 6 different distinct facets because I don't want to say reorg, but we've evolved the way we do that part of our business because it's the emerging channels area. It needs to constantly evolve. So in some regards, there was completely different work. In many regards, it was like a lot of the same teams, a lot of the same people, a lot of the same work, just with different approaches. So I was in the period where like it was a good time for me to explore something, not just a step over, right? Something very new and something that would shape me further, right? And stretch me and grow me into new areas. So this opportunity on the FIFA World Cup 2016 popped up. A couple of people kind of mentioned the opportunity to me and I looked into it, got to meet the team and obviously pursue it, land it. And it's like, clearly one of the best decisions I've ever made career-wise. It could look from the outside, like you said, like a hard pivot. In my mind, it's like this journey back to the world of global sports where brands and sports and fans and cities and all this cool stuff in the world intersect. And like, I get an immense amount of value out of the fact that I'm like at the table. I'm like really humbly, very honored to get to work on this. That's part of the value for me in the equation of the role is just like what we get exposure to.
I mean, holy smokes.
And for the value of that, right? Like not because the exposure to it may be another job or something like that. It's literally just getting to be part of it is like gold.
Yes. And I've been watching you all summer on your social channels, and you have been doing some really cool things. You've been all over the place, touring stadiums, checking out these venues, all these operations. And so let's just sum this up a little bit. You really have taken everything you've learned since Arizona, maybe even before Arizona, maybe all the way back to being 15 years old and almost losing a finger in the frozen trenches of landscaping, and taken everything you've learned along the way, Arizona on a truck, delivering to convenience stores, working in a Target, to Vancouver, to, working your way through Coca-Cola and pivoting out to consulting, back to Coca-Cola through the e-com channels. And now here you are to lead this FIFA World Cup commercial strategy. And how do you bring it to life when it comes to North America, the US, Canada, and Mexico? So all eyes are going to be on this. Major retailers, Coca-Cola's number one market. And what a privilege. It's like all these years have been your clutch game where you've been practicing, throwing your free throws, throwing your free throws, throwing your free throws. And now you're like ready to go to the big time when you're going to be on the free throw line and there's going to be 10 million people watching.
Yes.
And you're going to know how to do it because you've been doing it all this time. Yeah. You're ready.
Yeah.
I love it for you.
I love the way you summed it up. And I think that the biggest privilege of it all is not only are we going to know what we need to do, and I know what we need to do, we are in a position, again, very luckily and gratefully, to enable lots and lots of other people to know what to do. Right? This is the culmination and the magic of our work. Is we've got to mobilize thousands of people to make sure that during this incredible event and spectacle next year, where people are traveling thousands of miles away from home to come see maybe one, maybe two or three matches in a faraway land to support, represent their country, right? Like they're going to be served our beverages and we've got to represent our brand to them while their teams are representing their country. And the entire collective of this cool event space is that we give an experience to people. And on our end, we can get thousands of people ready to make sure the fans' experience is something they'll literally never forget, right? A tournament coming to 3 countries, to North America, is a once in a lifetime thing.
And that's what makes a brand and not just a commodity that sits on a shelf. The work that you're doing, that's what brings it to life in people's essence. Exactly what you're talking about.
All the time. When I talk to customers, I can be a little like I negotiate and like, internally, like I'm serious and I'm proud of what we do. So I have like expectations and stuff. And I just try to ground that sometimes in a story about what it's like to work at a brand like Coca-Cola, specifically Coca-Cola. And I'm saying this like not as a representative of everyone who works here, but in my experience, right, there's the periods I told you about where I worked at Coke, and then there's periods where I didn't. And like you're on an airplane and inevitably you're talking to the person next to you and the conversation goes to, what do you do for a living? Right. And in the periods where I didn't work at Coke, like I'd be like, well, I work for a company that measures, business intelligence, and like they're asleep, like the eyes jacked up. Yeah. They're like checking the phone or like playing with the screen. The periods of my life where I say I work at Coca-Cola, that reaction is so different.
Yeah.
The eyes light up, the shoulders come up. 9 times out of 10, they don't say like, oh, I like orange cream. It's really a cool innovation. Or they don't really talk about the product. I like you versus the competitor. So they like immediately launch into a story about their family or something that's culturally relevant. And we've been part of this like human experience. The brand that I happen to work at has been part of this human experience globally for over 100 years. And there's like some magic in that, right? That means the brand and the company has been doing a lot right for quite a while.
Yeah.
So it's a privilege. It's like an honor to, even though you may just look as a sort of sales guy. I'll never forget when I left Target to go work at Coke, one of the people I had to tell, they said, are you going to go schlep pop to those guys? Right. And the idea that like, okay, you could look at it. It's your choice to look at it and like, we're schlepping pop, or what we're doing is trying to make sure we're part of the human experience for the next 140 years.
Right. And that viewpoint fits so nicely into your value proposition, which is really about serving people. And do you want to talk a minute about the people that you really have passion for and that you spend time with and dedicate some of your heart and service to?
Thanks for making time for that. I think at the end of the day, I'm driven by this haunting, you need to produce more than you consumed. Tenet. It's like a principle. It's like the only thing I'd say my goals are is to have produced more than I consume. I say it in past tense because it's like that last breath, if lucky enough to be cogent during it, we have to take stock of what we've done with our lives. It's starting to get very serious on the Joy podcast, but I get really intense about is there enough time to do what it is I need to do? And in the enjoyment of life and the serving people, equation, how can I make sure those things interrelate? How can they be a self-serving cycle so that the job I have enables me to do things I love and care for, so that when I come back to my job, I've got the energy I need to be awesome at it. And then I can go keep doing all those. It's like the purpose and service cycle. So throughout my life, I've had great role models. My father being the biggest one. I look up at a little shadow box I made in his memory. There's this crazy long list of things Ray Wemple did in the world that that exist now, but only for him and a lot of other really important and passionate people's efforts. There's a hockey rink with his name on it. There are union benefits for police officers in New York that were built on a framework he built when he was, young. There's so many things that he did because he just thought that serving people was the purpose. And as a police officer, that was his entire mentality. It wasn't a day job. It wasn't a 9-to-5. It was I want to be a cop so I can serve the community. And this is how I know how to do it. Mm-hmm. When he retired, he went right back into serving the community via his, retirement job and via some of the nonprofit and charitable work that he did and organizational work. He was the president of our, hockey associations and things like that. And through all of this, I got to meet other people like him who led those organizations as well. All the parents who were involved in forming the high school hockey team that we built as parents and players when we were 14, 15, 16 years old. The nonprofit that we run in the name of a friend of ours who we lost shortly after high school that rewards the graduating senior from that high school hockey team we built 20 years ago, and the ability to fundraise for it and run a scholarship that rewards the graduating senior who most embodies the characteristics of our friend of ours, like I said, who we lost in high school. All of those things and the people we met along the way have been my role models for service. So short story on that is I think the thing that drives me is that there has to be a purpose to all of this and that I need to give back more than I've taken, and done a bunch of different things volunteer wise in the community and with Red Cross and all this other stuff. But right now I'm super, super focused on one organization, the board member of an organization called Stoked. We are in our 20th year. We're in the middle of this incredible, almost relaunch of what Stoked is. At its core, in New York and LA, we've mentored youth of promise, youth from at-risk areas through the medium of board sports, surf, ski, and snow. So we'll literally get 60 kids, 15, 20 mentors on a bus. We go from the Bronx to Bel Air here in New York and ride with kids and not only teach them the functional skills of snowboarding, but the value of an interpersonal relationship with an adult, the ability to ask questions freely and without judgment in a safe environment. The fact that safety exists and someone cares about you. These are all incredible effects of mentorship. So at the core of the model is that. And then the in-school piece, we're also bringing program to New York City and LA schools, which is, is needed now more than ever. And so the core of that is now evolving to not just mentoring youth, but creating the legions of mentors, while we also not only operate a great nonprofit, but we're building a platform to enable other nonprofits to flourish. So that's all part of the board and the staff's redesign of Stoked 2.0, and we couldn't be more stoked.
I love it.
Not to be cheesy, to bring it to life.
I love it. And you and I have had many a dinner and lunch over with conversation about Stoked, and it really is just tremendous. And you light up every time you talk about it, and you talk about the kids and the impact. And I do believe, Matt, that you give more than you take in this world. And that's just what makes you so incredible and special, and really just a privilege. You are joy and what you bring to the world. So I know that FIFA World Cup 2026 is in great hands with you leading it for the Coca-Cola Company. It's going to be incredible. I think we're taking away so many nuggets today of what you've taught us and imparted on us. So Thank you for being with us. What a privilege. Where can we learn more about Stoked?
Stoked.org.
Stoked.org. Okay.
Social handles.
We will list that in the show notes.
And all the Stoked social handles, I'd say Stoked.org on Instagram is a great one. We've got an incredible program director named Q in New York who's keeping that fresh. There's like so many good things we're producing and so much more to come.
Okay. What a privilege.
And I'd say, Chloe, can I leave your listeners with like one thought, which is be really good to yourself.
Yes. Be really good to yourself. Be kind. That's where the joy is. Yeah.
That's where the joy is. Yeah.
That's where the joy is. All right, my friend, what a privilege to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, Lori.